Welcome to Not Again, the podcast that brings college-level analysis to preschool-level content. I'm one of your hosts, Rebecca.
I'm your other host, Alan.
And this week, we are talking about The Secret Life of Pets 2, because we've never seen the first one.
And it doesn't seem to matter that we haven't seen the first one.
Well, I want to talk about, okay, so the title is hilarious and awful to me, because The Secret Life of Pets 2 implies that it's like The Secret Life of Pets 1 was like, hey, look at what all these pets do. It's Toy Story, but with dogs. And then, The Secret Life of Pets 2 implies, they have more secrets. We forgot these secrets.
There's a whole other book of pet secrets. Jeez.
Oh, my God. They have further secret lives.
Further.
This is the extra secret.
Well, it's actually the pet's double life.
Yes, it's now, well, I mean, the bunny rabbit does have a double life.
Or,
Stupidly. I feel like Secret Life of Pets 2 is saying very unique.
Yeah.
Unique already implies one of a kind, so saying very unique is redundant. So saying The Secret Life of Pets 2 is secret, harder, extra secrets, secreter.
I mean, we can fix this right now. Secret Life of Pets, Life on the Farm.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Instead of 2, The Secret Life of Pets, secreter. The Secreter Life of Pets.
Die harder.
Secret Life of Pets 2 with a vengeance. No, it doesn't seem to have mattered. I think that I watched the Everything Wrong With video for Secret Life of Pets 1, but that was so long ago that I don't remember.
Well, you can tell it's a sequel because the brown dog, the second dog.
It is taking me a million years to remember that his name is Duke.
Duke doesn't matter. He doesn't need to be in this movie at all.
No.
And this is the last time we're going to talk about him.
Yeah, probably. Oh my God, what a useless character.
But it's just he must have been in the first one, right?
Here's my guess. We're going to do an Alan and Beck's Guess the Plot, okay? So I think that... Oh, I just used my nickname for the first time. Yeah, I go by Beck's. All right, what of it?
Deal with it.
Yeah. Oh, we're so
Come
cool.
at me.
All right, this is why I became a teacher and not a cool person. My guess is this. My guess is that Max, played by Patton Oswalt, because I guess movie makers decided he does well at playing small, cute animals, was an uptight apartment living dog, and then he met Duke, who is fun-loving and ridiculous, and let's face it, dumb, because movies will never stop perpetuating this idea that
big is dumb,
bigger is dumber, and they didn't like each other at first, but then they did, and then the movie was over. Ari's here, by the way,
yeah,
in case you hear him
eating. He
thrashes as he eats. This was a very interesting baby experience for me. I mean, it still is, but it was when he was newborn more interesting. So Ari's here, and I'm sick, by the way, but not with COVID, because my gracious employers forced me to go into work at school, but then they were but look, don't worry, we're going to let you take COVID tests really often. And I was oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, it really makes it better.
Yeah, so I just got a COVID test, and I don't have it. I'm just regular type sick, probably because Warren brought something home from preschool. Those preschoolers, man. They have a lot of
sniffles.
Yes. Kids need to build their immune system somehow. That's why we just feed our kids dirt. We don't. Please don't send Child Protective Services after us. That was a joke. It was a bad joke. Okay. Seriously, dude, you gotta stop. I don't know if you're trying to escape, but
Yeah.
Why are you trying to escape while you're eating? Just eat. You're either hungry or you want to escape, but not both. So that's my guess for the plot of Secret Life. And as far as I can tell, so this is the interesting thing. So Secret Life of Pets overall is about pets in apartments in New York City. They're in the same apartment building, and they as soon as their owners leave, they go. It's Toy Story. They go chat and cause mischief. And we will get to this. I want to do a whole talk about their attempts at humor and observational comedy. So that's what it is. But I cannot tell from the intro of The Secret Life Pets 2. That title is just going to devolve the more I say it, by the way. Soon I'm just going to be saying, The Secret Life 2.
The Secret Life 2.
If his owner is played by Ellie Kemper, she's a young woman, and she meets a dude, and I can't tell if that's a recap from the first movie.
I actually don't know.
Brand new info, in the first 5 minutes we're doing Up, but instead of being sad, it works out for them. Where it's let's introduce this entire romance.
I didn't think about that. It could be a recap, because one of the main plot points is that they have a kid, and Max wants to be super protective of this kid.
Max is Patton Oswalt dog.
The Patton Oswalt dog, the main character, pretty much.
Yeah. Our protagonist.
And So it could, but there's a very short kind of like meet cute, fall in love, get married, move in, have a baby right at the beginning that could be part of Secret Life of Us 1.
I don't think the baby was. I'm just wondering if the meet cute, like, I think it's not.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
My instinct says that was just like the beginning of the second movie. Like that in the first movie, it was just the I don't even remember what her name is because the human characters aren't overly important in this movie.
You can just call her Kemper.
So Ellie. I'm just gonna call her Ellie Kemper. So in the first movie, I know Ellie Kemper was probably there. I think that the addition of the love interest for her was new for the second.
Okay.
And just kind of thrown in there to provide the plot for our main character, which is, I'm going to recap here real quick. They have a baby, and then Max, the dog, gets anxious about how dangerous the world is. This should sound familiar if you listen to our Finding Nemo
episodes.
But so he starts getting anxious, and so he starts scratching, and so he gets a cone put on his head, and then they take him to a farm, supposedly to relax, where he meets Harrison Ford, phoning it in as a dog. I don't blame him for phoning it in at all, by the way. I mean, like, I want to voice act so bad. Like, I think that's so fun, but it's also just a quick, easy way for an actor in their downtime to like keep working, you know?
There's a reason why they make so many of these things. It's because like the actors don't even have to be in the same city.
Yeah.
They just go to a recording studio, they pound out their lines, and then they do the animation, and everybody makes $1 million.
Right. So and so he like meets this, and we're going to talk about the narrative, but like very short. We really have to discuss this in depth, and I think that's why this is going to be a two-parter, not just because it's a movie, but because there's just so much to unpack here. Mm-hmm. But he has a narrative that has become so tired, especially when it comes to animals following this narrative, which is, for lack of better words, the be a man narrative. I have to check TV tropes to see if that's like a trope.
If that's the actual official title.
I bet it's a trope, even if they call it something different.
Yeah.
Like, I bet it's on there.
Oh, I know it's on there. It's just it might be a different name.
I call it the be a man narrative. Yeah. It's subverted very nicely by cartoon Mulan. I haven't seen live action Mulan. And it sounds like maybe they went in a different direction.
They had a whole song about being a man.
That's exactly it. And it's an ironic song, right? Yeah. It's like, be a man, you got to be strong and tough, but they don't know there's a woman in their midst proving that you don't have to be a man to be strong. Or if you follow my narrative, she is trans or gender fluid. And I only say she because those are the pronouns she uses in the movie, but I feel like Mulan might choose different pronouns if she existed today. And that's very cool. Super empowering. Disney meant for a cis female empowerment movie. I think they succeeded at empowerment, but just empowered LGBTQ instead. Okay. Right? Anyway, so that's the narrative that they're kind of playing with in Mulan. But in this movie, they're playing it straight up. Like, you need to be a man. So we're going to get into that. So then he goes home from the farm, having learned how to be a man, even though he's a small dog. And because there are side characters that need a narrative, I wish I were making this up, but I am absolutely not. A small rabbit, played by Kevin Hart, thinks he's a superhero. Like, his owner dresses him up in a superhero costume, and he gets approached by the lovely and wonderful Tiffany Haddish. Oh, come on now. Who is playing a Lhasa Apso, it looks like, or one of those other small dogs that gets its hair done. And she was in an airplane storage compartment like they do to pets because, animal torture. And she encountered a white tiger baby, I think, that was being held by an evil Russian circus owner played by Nick Kroll, even though this is not a comedic part, it's the villain that nobody asked for. And they decide to go rescue this white tiger from the evil Russian circus owner. And the evil Russian circus owner has wolves, and they do manage to rescue the white tiger, and they hide it in their apartment building. And then when Max gets back home, he finds the tiger, and the wolves have tracked him down. And so he has to go on a big train adventure with all his friends to prove that he has in fact learned how to be a man and defeat the Russian evil circus owner, who, by the way, like, okay, can I just say, like, they decided on, like, I don't know how to say it, like, not a minority as the villain. Like, they made sure Russian and not, like, Middle Eastern or African American. Like, they were like, we don't want to make this problematic. And yet, if you look at his character design, he still looks vaguely Semitic, and me, like, just as a Jew, I'm like tired of seeing these Snape-like villains and like the implications that come with them. And so to me, I was just kind of like, this is too much. But also, why on earth is this the plot of the movie? So they defeat, like, the end of the movie of The Secret Life of Pets 2 is defeating an evil Russian circus owner on a train and rescuing a white tiger.
I've seen this movie several times, more than I want to, which is all of them, and I still found that hard to follow.
Yes. What I just said?
Well, no, you were spot on with, like, that's how the plot of this movie goes, but, like, to hear it summed up in that way, you just go, what were any of these decisions?
So ridiculous. And so that's like what happens in the movie. And there's so many things that I want to talk about. And I think today, at the very least, we'll be able to get through the humor element of it.
Okay.
So what I want to start by saying is that I have never seen a movie that fails every single time at its attempt at humor.
Yeah. I understand that, like, a lot of these animated movies, they're just like happy colors and dogs and kitties, and they're meant to just sort of entertain, but, like, they tried to write jokes. At some point, there was a room full of people writing jokes that they thought were going to be good on camera, and every single one of them wasn't.
Flat. It fell flat.
Wasn't.
And like we have talked about this like before, where it kind of feels like somebody took their Type 5 on like Pets, and like, aren't pets kooky? Hey, have you noticed cats follow red laser dots around? And they stretch it into not one movie but two. And I don't know what the first movie was. Maybe it had good humor, and this is The Leftovers. But dogs will chew on socks sometimes. Like, yeah, cool. Really cutting edge there.
Yeah, great story.
Yeah. And so, like, I want to make the point that, like, even bad movies have made me laugh a couple times. For instance, Twilight. Okay. First of all, I'm actually a big proponent of the first Twilight movie is better than the book, and they tried to make some decisions to improve upon, like, the lack of feminism and stuff. And I could do a whole episode on that. One day I'll do a bonus episode about my analysis of Twilight and the subsequent movie, but, like, not the other books and movies, because wow, you guys can just understand that already. That's been done to death. But the thing is that Twilight's not a comedy, but it is a bad movie. But, like, there's still a scene where the sparkly vampire Edward Cullen is introducing his human girlfriend to his vampire family, and they're acting weird around her. And Rob Pattinson's pained expression makes me laugh every time. It's funny, probably because Rob Pattinson was all, like, just genuinely in pain. I mean, they paid him a lot of money, so, like, World's Smallest Violin, but he hated those movies. So, like, even movies that aren't trying too hard or aren't comedies have made me laugh once or twice. Like, I would point out the Flophouse did the Will Ferrell movie, I think it's called Holmes and Watson. They did a Sherlock Holmes movie.
Okay.
And it was the biggest flop ever.
Well, that's why I probably haven't heard of it.
But they got the, like, wrestling announcer guy to say, let's get ready to tussle or something like that, instead of let's get ready to rumble. And I thought that was funny. Like, I just heard it from their podcast, but, like, I was like, that's a good joke. Like, let's get ready to tussle or whatever it is, right? So, it's like the broken clock is right twice a day sort of thing. Not with this movie. With one exception that I'll talk about later. Okay. There was one exception where I laughed, but everything else felt stale and tired and, like, forced. What do you think? Anything you want to talk about in particular?
No, I mean...
I'm talking too much.
It's fine.
As is my want.
We discussed a particularly disgusting scene in this movie in a different podcast, and I don't want to rehash that because it's gross. But, like... Yeah, we talked a little bit about bodily humor and kids'
this movie
movies.
goes hard into it, though. Like, you brought up the litter box scene in our Finding Nemo Part 2 episode, probably. I think. But there's other toilet humor.
Yeah.
And not the good kind, because I have laughed at, like, fart jokes before. But you know what I say? You got to earn your fart jokes, man. You got
you got to build up some goodwill.
Yeah. Do you know how many, like, poop jokes there were in this movie? Like, I haven't counted.
More than one.
More than one. It sounded like I was building up to me, like, answering. Like, 7, but, like, I don't actually know. But, like, more than one and also too many.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about the puppies. There's, like, a puppy school. Okay. It sounds like I'm making all this up. So they go to an apartment with an old basset hound named Pops, who I think that's the one played by Dana Carvey.
Sounds right.
Maybe. I have to look it up again later. But, like, and by the way, can I just say, none of the voice acting in this movie is bad.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's a writing problem, not an acting problem.
it is a writing problem. There's a writing plot, just completely disjointed. Nothing, none of the jokes work.
Right, and it's not a delivery or acting problem. It is simply the right. So when I say the voice actors' names, it's because I think they deserve props for acting. I think they did a great job. But like this dog is an old basset hound, and he has like a puppy school or something.
He's teaching puppies how to be a cute puppy, and the joke there is that he is a floppy old basset hound and isn't cute,
and he's like gruff with them.
Yeah.
But like they try to make jokes about what puppies do, and that's where we got to like the puppies steal the socks, and they're like, "Why do you steal socks?" And they're like, "'Cause it'll aggravate our owners." And it's like, okay. This is the same joke as like sometimes I put socks in the dryer and then I don't have as many socks anymore. Like it's been done.
Yeah.
A lot. It's very tired. But then they make jokes about like one of the puppies says he has to go to the bathroom and Pops is the name of the character goes like, you have to go poop in a shoe because that will really be upsetting to your owner. And it's like, what is going on with this?
I mean, they must have just been trying to stretch it out because like Pops, just like Duke, doesn't matter.
No, not to the plot. Anyway.
To the plot in any way. Like, these scenes could just be cut.
Well, the only reason that dog is here's the sad part. Duke is clearly like the friendly companion, and yet, and I think they meant him to be comic relief, but even that is like minimal. Oh God, we have to talk about the cow scene. Anyway, I'll let you get to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to the farm later.
The farm, yeah, we haven't even gotten to the farm, guys. So no, the Pops is where they hide. I'm just laughing at the fact that I'm going to say this sentence. They hide the baby white tiger in Pops's apartment for a while. And so they introduce him to the plot beforehand so that we're not surprised when he shows up for them to hide the white tiger. Yeah. Which
is the thing he just says, get that tiger out of here. Yes. And then they do.
Yes. And but what I was going to say is like, that technically means that Pops, this random basset hound, provides more service to the plot than Duke, the supposed friendly companion to the main character. I feel like Duke is being like completely sidelined. Like, why does this dog exist? It's only because he was in the first movie, right?
Yeah, it must be.
They just couldn't think of anything for him to do. They found it more important to give an entire side plot to the minor characters of the bunny and the little dog lovers. Tweet @NotAgainPod to correct me or tell me I'm right. I would love that. I believe Lhasa Apso, I don't know, that played by Tiffany Haddish, that they felt like the need to give Duke his own plot. Like,
yeah.
Like they were like, it's more important to have the rabbit thing. Oh my God. Talk about this is all humor related. Talk about the weird comic book-esque cartoon cut they do with the rabbit.
Yes. Okay. So right in the middle of the movie, I don't know if it's my whale scene, but I've seen it a lot of times.
It is a whale scene, at least in the fact that it upsets Warren every time.
Well, it upsets me every time.
Me too.
So it's a completely different animation style. They switch it to be kind of like Dick Tracy, like film noir, kind of like. Okay, so the rabbit thinks Kevin Hart, yeah. Kevin Hart rabbit.
Hold on, Snowball, and he calls himself Captain Snowball, right?
Captain Snowball, Kevin Hart, whatever.
You can just call him Kevin Hart, though.
Kevin Hart decides he's a superhero. And so he has a fantasy.
Yes.
In the middle of the movie about how he's going to save a lovely girl rabbit from some no good nicks.
Right. Now, I want to clarify here. This is like comic book style animation. So it's 2D animation.
Yeah.
And they have anthropomorphized the rabbit in this scene, in his fantasy. And so the female rabbit is like
more human than is comfortable.
Yeah. She's like stereotypically like thin, but like got that hourglass figure in a dress.
As a rabbit's fantasy.
And he is a buff dude in a rabbit's fantasy. And she is at an ATM and accosted by 3 giant thug rabbits. Again, thug rabbits. I never thought that I would say.
2 words that didn't need to be together.
Right, exactly. And God, this is a PG podcast, but like.
It's a little, it's it's a little more than a robbery. It's a little bit creepy.
It gives, okay, so this is us bringing our adult minds to a child's piece of entertainment, but the vibes that come off of this particular scene are not they want to rob her. She's at an ATM, but she's not holding a purse, she's not holding money, and they're much bigger than her, and there's 3 of them, and it is so like if you feel uncomfortable right now, you feel the correct thing. This is what it feels like. This is an
uncomfortable moment.
And it's not funny. Like, I think it's supposed to be, like, they wanted it to be humor. But just creepy.
What's the joke that a rabbit thinks about superheroes? Like, there's no... I don't even get what they were trying to do. Like, what's funny about it? Like, what's the angle?
I'm trying to figure it out. It's funny. Okay, so I think they think it's funny that a small fluffy bunny rabbit views himself as a big hunky superhero, and that it's that's the beginning and end of it. I think they think it's funny that like he's fantasy. It's the juxtaposition of his fantasy self versus his true self,
I guess.
And they're like laugh at this, but instead they're perpetuating this damsel in distress stereotype and making us feel just distinctly uncomfortable about everything else in the situation. So that happened.
And just didn't need to. I think like I could do an edit of this movie that's probably, well, I couldn't because there's no central plot. So I couldn't like focus it down.
You would have to choose either the farm narrative or the train narrative.
But like
it could be 20 minutes.
There's no structure to this film at all.
It's just
there's
like
rabbit
set pieces.
There's a farm, there's a rabbit fantasy, there's a tiger, there's a train, there's a Russian. It hangs on none of it.
So there's a couple of movies that do this a little bit more egregiously that I'll talk about briefly. Moana and Kubo and the 2 strings, I think.
Yeah.
Even though he ends up with 3 at the end, but the 2 strings are his parents. Anyway, I didn't like either of those movies. I know it's blasphemous to say I didn't like Moana. The thing is, I would have loved to see a story featuring, you know, those characters from that area of the world that was like, that treated it better, that like they put more effort into. I wasn't upset by the inclusion. I was upset by the lack of effort for the inclusion. Right. But like both of these movies just move from, and Brave in a lot of ways. Yeah. Because Brave also just included the same sets over and over. But like Moana and Kubo had just set piece with no connective tissue. It's like, first we're here. Okay, we're done with that. Now we're here. Okay, we're done with that. And so Secret Life of Pets 2 is not like that bad, but it definitely has those vibes of like, now we're at the farm. Now we're not at the farm. You know, like it's just that. And now we're on a train, you know? So I'm agreeing with you here. It's all.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like a D&D campaign that you didn't think about beforehand.
Yes.
It's just like, all right, everybody, we got to go save a sheep. That's going to be a thing.
Oh my God, the sheep. Okay, these are talking animals. Okay, go on. Go on.
So we got to save a sheep. We got to jump off a train. We got to jump back onto the train, like roll something. None of it. Yeah.
Roll dexterity. Roll for initiative. You're a tiny dog, so -1 to initiative.
Yeah, we gotta talk about this farm, man.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the farm. Okay, so the farm is where Harrison Ford is the big manly dog. We're gonna talk about the manliness narrative next time. I think
we're gonna have to.
We're already 20-something minutes in, even with edits, and I think that dedicating an entire episode to the manliness narrative is important.
You have a lot to say about that.
Yeah. So instead, let's just continue with the humor aspect of it, but also the logistics. So the first thing I want to say before we talk about the cow, I hate that. I feel like the cow scene encapsulates the movie's attempt at humor so well. But Harrison Ford is a generic herding dog of some kind. Mm-hmm. And he is in charge of herding the animals, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense until I realized like the cows can talk, the sheeps, really?
The sheeps.
Every time I make a grammatical mistake as an English teacher, it just like, but I know people misspeak in English.
I want to slow down a little bit and talk about this farm.
No, hold on. No. You don't get to.
Okay.
No, I'm going to divorce you if you keep talking about this farm until I'm done.
All right.
Okay. No, I just wanted to say they talk. Every animal talks. And so the fact that they show Harrison Ford dog herding these animals in a dog-like way instead of just yelling, hey, get in there is ridiculous to me. Like, there's no reason. Like, he could just be like, hey, sheep, it's time to go graze. You have this area. And they could be like, okay, man, because they talk. All right, go ahead. Go to the farm.
It's the farm. This gets me a little bit because they do this all the time. The farm makes no sense.
Oh, it's like old MacDonald style.
It's old MacDonald.
Old MacDonald would not be productive.
Yeah, he's got pigs, he's got sheep, he's got cows, he's got chickens. There's at least
there's a turkey.
There's a turkey.
Yeah.
Turkey, right?
A single turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a farm before. You have got to specialize, man. You've got to pick something and do it. You can't do all creatures.
And here's the thing: is this a farm that is just supposed to be self-sustaining, rather than like he makes his livelihood off of it? Because then I could kind of see, but no, because he has like a huge herd of cows and a huge, like, he must be selling stuff.
Yeah, cows or milk or whatever.
Well, the reason I called it an old MacDonald farm is because, like,
it's for
if you realize that, like, if you actually think about the song Old MacDonald, if he has one of every type of animal, he will have no ability to produce any kind of like economical wares for buying and selling and trading and bartering. One cow does not produce enough for anything, not even like a single family. And so Old MacDonald is going to go out of business.
Oh, yeah.
Can farms go out of business? Foreclosure?
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. And so I find, like, I didn't really think about this until like very recently in my life, because there are actually a lot of like farmers out in North Dakota. Like, there are ranchers and farmers. I learned there's a difference between farmer and rancher. Farmer food, growing
plants,
food, plant food, and rancher animals. But you also have to specialize. There are pig ranchers or pig farmers, and cow and sheep, because
and soybean
because you need
sugar beet.
You need to specialize so that you can actually produce a living off of that one thing. If you spread yourself too thin, you can't do any of that.
So this, I mean, we probably don't need to talk about this all that much. We can cut it out if you want.
This is our podcast, man.
This is our podcast.
I'm going to remarry you so that you'll talk about this. I didn't divorce you, but whatever. We're married again. I love you. Please talk about this.
But it's a lot of children's education for some reason has to do with, like, one day you're going to be a farmer. And that was true once, but it's not anymore.
Okay, well, you do not want me to go on my rant about how the education system is no longer helping students be successful in the world.
There's a lot of like songs and children's books and just educational stuff that says, well, you're going to need to know the like pigs and chickens and turkeys and tractors and there was a time in this country when a lot of people, maybe even a majority of people, made their living off of the land, and that is no longer.
We're a little bit past the Oregon Trail days.
Yes.
Although, I mean, like, I still love to play Oregon Trail. But, like, no, like, Warren's current unit in preschool is bears, and I love that so much, because why is there an entire unit dedicated to bears, but also I'm so glad there's an entire unit dedicated to bears.
I mean, like, sometimes it's just, I want to just like talk to every preschool teacher in America and just be like, hey, what are you doing this week? Bears.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's so sad. I know they don't want to just like be like, okay, kids, this is a smartphone. Can you say smartphone?
Yeah.
But like, this is the reality of it. I hate that we're still teaching students algebra. Math was my best subject in school. I became an English teacher because I didn't... Like, there were two reasons I became an English teacher. One of them is too long to talk about now. But, like, one of the reasons was, even though math was my best subject, I knew that I was going to get the question, why do we need to learn this? And I wanted to have an answer that made sense.
Yeah.
For English, learning how to formulate an argument, analyze text, all that stuff has a practical application. As much as people joke about English majors, it is practical. For math, I just helped a freshman girl learn how to solve equations with two variables. Why? When will she ever need to know that? And we've already studied that learning loss occurs during any break.
Yeah.
Students retain something like 5% of what they learn in school every year.
Mm-hmm. I did a lot of math in my life. And I can count on one hand how many times I had to do it professionally. I mean, like, I worked with programs that used the math, and I guess it was good that I understood what it was.
Well, this is something I told you before. Like, when I was in school, my teachers told me, like, you're not going to have a calculator with you all the time, so you got to learn to do this. Guess what I have with me all the time now?
A calculator.
A calculator.
Yeah.
And Google.
Yeah.
You know how I figure out if I'm teaching students to do math right? Because, like, I still remember a lot of it, but I want to make sure. I Google it. And they can too.
Yeah.
They have Google on their phones, on their iPads, on their computers. They have calculators on their phones. This isn't necessary anymore. We need to update this curriculum. I was about to curse. It's still a PG podcast. I only implied the curse in that blank space there. We've gotten off of farms, but the point is that, like, this guy is not farming correctly.
He's not farming, and we're teaching our children things that aren't going to happen.
Feel free to get at me. I'm at Bexgoose, BEXGOOS, or at Not Again Pod if you want to hear me rant about education more. I think we need to not reform or redo schools, but rather reinvent it entirely. We need to start from the ground up with schooling in this country. We cannot. This system is not working. But yeah, so I will talk really quickly. But no, let's do the cow scene first, because the cow scene bothers me. Duke sees a cow and he's like, "Oh, say moo, because cows say moo," and then the cow starts mocking him about, like, "Oh, you're a stupid dog," and, like, "my brain is the size of a rat turd," speaking from a dog's perspective. And just, like, I just felt the movie saying, laugh at this. We want you to laugh at this. It's funny, isn't it? Yeah. Come on, man, laugh. And I was like, it's not funny at all. And it goes on too long.
And the cow, he mocks him. He's like, "Oh, I'm a dog. Look at me." And then the cow pretends to pee on a tree.
Yeah. Like
a dog would. Ha, 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 ha.
Except her udder is there. And it's weird. This movie keeps freaking me out. But, like, so the one time, okay, we're going to get back into the territory of I can't believe I'm saying this. But the circus evil man, evil Nick Kroll, has a tiny monkey companion that wears a hat and I think a vest. This is the one time I laughed in this movie. And it was towards the very end. The monkey gets shot out of a cannon that is on a train. Because, of course.
Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think it, like, hits Max, or somehow they both end up tumbling off of the train and surviving, because of course they do. And the monkey's hat falls off, and Max is, like, looking at the train and going, like, "Oh no, I need to get back on this train." And before he runs off, he just takes the monkey's hat and puts it back on real quick. Like, almost as if it's an afterthought. Like, he just quickly pops it back on. The monkey's still, like, smoking on the ground, like, dazed from its cannon explosion. But he's like, "Here's your hat, man." You know, he doesn't say it. He's just like, quick, I gotta get on this train. Hat. And then gone. Like, and I can't, it's something you definitely have to see. Like, I don't expect you to be cracking up like I was just hearing me say this. But, like, that moment was the first real, like, unexpected humor, funny moment. I'm sorry, let me modify that. The first and last real, unexpected, funny moment in that movie. Everything else was forced, like I said. And by the way, can I just say, it takes almost, like, more work to find a way to animate puppies that aren't cute. But my goodness, they manage it. Like, none of these animals are cute, including the puppies.
And the bunny.
The bunny should be cute.
It's a fluffy bunny with a fluffy tail.
And you know what I think it is? I think it's their big, plasticky looking eyes.
Oh, yeah, they do. They look like they're already toys in stores.
Which I can't imagine why they would make the characters already look like toys in stores.
Yeah.
That was heavy sarcasm. But, like, yeah, those big eyes, they're bug-eyed. And I don't know. Their character design is like, let me say this. The animators, like the voice actors, they showed up to work. There's this one scene in the farm where the cows are running through the sun and the sun is, like, glinting off of their fur.
I have another thing to say in praise of these animators. Somebody thought about this, and this was a really good thing. When they're in New York City, all of the buildings look way taller and, like, closer together because the perspective is dog.
Oh, yeah. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Go animators. Yeah, well done. That's very good. See, we have positive things to say. It's just not about the writing, like, or plot.
Nailed that one. That was a great way to make the city look like if you're looking at it through the eyes of a dog. So
Like, I have distinct memories from elementary school of, like, looking up what felt like a million miles at my sister and her friends. And it took me a long time to realize that they were in 8th grade at the time and they were tiny. But, like, from my perspective, she's 5 years older than me. They look like giants. So that's a great little note. Very good for them.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to talk about for today is the cat. I want now to issue a content warning. We have to talk about the concept of getting high again. I've talked about this in previous episodes. It is now time to get more specific.
Yes.
So if you want to skip forward to just the conclusion of our episode and the wrap up, please feel free to hit that forward 15 or 30 second button. But we are going to talk about this. Okay. Oh God, we haven't even talked about, okay. Next episode, because we already hit 30 minutes, we're going to have to talk about Gidget.
Oh, okay.
So Jenny Slate plays Gidget, a white fluffy type Pomeranian-esque dog, and she has very much like the bunny, just this disturbing fantasy about romance.
What is
with
with
Max.
the disturbing fantasies?
And
in
also,
this?
she's introduced by coming out of a dishwasher with cucumbers on her eyes, like it's a spa. And I'm so worried about kids putting their pets in dishwashers now, like with Finding Nemo when they flushed their fish down the toilet and they were like, "Be free, go back to the ocean." Like that didn't happen. But no, we'll talk about that next time. But let's talk about this cat. The cat's name is Chloe, and she is doing all of the cliche, like, very obvious jokes about cats, like smacking her owner in the face, coughing up a hairball, being aloof because cats are aloof, right? And at one point, Gidget, who we'll talk about next episode, approaches Chloe in her apartment in order to find help for Gidget's completely unnecessary subplot. And Chloe is high. And the joke is catnip. And if you couldn't predict that, I'm surprised, because this is the most predictable joke ever, is catnip, okay? They did it in Cats. They do it every time. You don't watch Cats unless you're willing to be horrified. But they have a song called White Rabbit. It is about Alice in Wonderland, and it's literally like the lyrics are like, one pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small, and go ask the caterpillar, and it's all about, it's the high song, right? And so they're not being subtle about it. And I've already talked about how much I hate this, but it is so explicit in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, the cat is high and she's like, "Oh, I'm making noises," and like, "Wow, Gidget, just chill out." And she has a lampshade on her head, I think.
Yeah, it's super cliche, like stoner stuff in a movie that is inappropriate for. I feel inappropriate talking about it on a podcast that we said is PG. This movie is definitely PG. If it was PG-13, it wouldn't be The Secret Life of Pets 2.
And once again, I have no problem with Lake Bell, who plays Chloe. It's just the writing. Like we talked about, it's an adult joke. It's there for the adults, but it still is exposing children to stuff that I don't want them exposed to yet. Let's not introduce them to the concept of getting high yet. And I just wanted to talk about that. Like, it's a very disturbing scene in a movie that I'm just now realizing is full of disturbing scenes. So before I wrap up, I just want to say thank you to everybody who reached out to me personally on Twitter for a podcast review. I'm having a lot of fun with those, actually. It's kind of helping my mental health even more to have kind of a purpose. And so if you're hearing this and you don't have a podcast review, but you do have a fairly new podcast that you'd like me to listen to an episode of and tweet out a review of, you can get at me personally at Bex Goose, or hey, reach out to Not Again Pod. It's totally cool, either one. And yeah, shout out to everyone who's already gotten a review at this point, and everyone who's on my list for future. Next time, we're going to finish our talk about The Secret Life of Pets 2 by wrapping up with Gidget and then talking about the Be a Man narrative. And then after that, I thought it would be really cool if Alan and I talked a little bit about the portrayal of autistic and coded autistic characters in popular literature, entertainment like TV and movies, and just like talking about the harm and or good that is being done by these
portrayals and
properties, right? Because it's not quite kids shows, but we are autism is part of our lives and our life, our collective life, and our family now. And I think that it's an important thing for us to talk about. And so that's what's coming down the line. Secret Life of Pets 2 too. Isn't that fun? Because it's the second part of our talk about the Secret Life of Pets 2. And then let's talk autism. So if you want to get at us with comments or suggestions for what we should talk about, please do. And that leads me right into telling you about our social media. On Facebook, we are Not Again with Alan and Rebecca. That's ALAN and REBECCA. On Twitter, we are at Not Again Pod. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We have a trailer we'd love for you to share around. Word of mouth is the best form of advertising. And thank you to our listeners for helping us to maintain our marbles for one more week. We will catch you next time, friends. Bye.
Bye.